period that we're in. And instead of getting bogged down with uncertainties, start to move forward towards a sense of direction, stability. And I think this is really a key part of this collaboration. How do we provide great information in a time of uncertainty, knowing that we are all just doing, the best we can. I'm Syama Maher. I am the CEO of Scaling Retail. We are an international retail consultancy and creative agency. And today I am co-hosting with Kali from Liberty Fairs. Hi, Kali.
Hi, Syama. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. And today's conversation is going to be centered around digital opportunities. How are we looking at building our businesses during the time of COVID and also coming out of it as the retail landscape has shifted and changed? And so today I'm joined with Jamal, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about how Verishop has been evolving, changing their business, looking at ways of buying, opportunities in e-commerce, and Eric from Moose Limited to help us understand a little bit more about how buying cycles have changed. What are some back-end operational things that we should be looking at as we evolve into this next wave of e-comm, business modeling, and e-commerce success, I would say. Now, to kind of open up the conversation, what I thought was so interesting is in the month of May, we did see an uptick of sales emerging out of April slumps, which is great news for retail. And then we've also been seeing kind of this huge wave of new e-commerce stores popping up. I think Shopify said something like, 64% of new stores had opened up in the last 6 weeks. And so I'm going to kind of turn it over to Jamal first, introduce yourself, and then to Eric. But tell us a little bit about the business model. Tell us a little bit about e-comm as it relates to your business, and help us get this conversation kickstarted.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Jamal Ahmed. I'm the head of men's at Verishop, and we are a lifestyle destination online, and we specialize right now in men's, women's, home, beauty, and wellness. And yeah, I think our goal prior to Corona and still now is to give the customer the most convenient place to shop and a great opportunity to select, to live from, or to work with a wide selection of brands. And I think that the customers, as we've seen, like with success in some of the more commodity-based retailers, the customer expects that more and more. They expect a really seamless transition from their regular life to the digital life and then back again. And our goal is to be a partner that helps do that for the customer, reduce friction in their digital shopping experience and their real life use of those purchases.
Awesome. That was a very succinct, very business definition. Of what you're doing. Okay, Eric, add a little bit more color. Let's get a little bit more relaxed here. All right, we're all working from like different places. Good work, Jamal. You made us all seem very professional. Eric, tell us a little bit about Moose. Tell us a little bit about your position there and kind of how you guys are seeing e-commerce right now.
Yeah, so my name's Eric Flores. I'm the head of men's at mltd.com. We target a younger customer, lifestyle customer as well. And, we've been in business for 15 years. We've been transitioning in the last few years already regardless, because the market has changed. Apparel and fashion is a constantly evolving business. But in the last 3 months or 4 months, I've definitely seen it transition even more. I really feel like I'm getting to know who our customers are. And I think the reason is because so many people have been home and we've been seeing certain trends that are going towards, what people are buying for the privacy of their home, as opposed to what they're buying to go on vacation or to go out on a Friday night or whatever it is. So there's been a change, it's been really interesting to see what works and what doesn't work. So that's kind of what we're going through, and I'm sure we're going to get into the buying trends that have been happening, but just with people being at home, we've recognized slides and sweatpants and incense and candles and random tchotchkes like that are all of a sudden just like kind of taken off for us. That before might have been a little bit more flat or maybe we're down, So it's been interesting just to I feel like we're getting to know our consumer a lot better right now, if that makes any sense, like more on a personal level.
Absolutely. I think that's so interesting. Kali, please introduce yourself. I know you're going to be co-moderating with me and helping us kind of guide this conversation. Just to let everyone know, please do feel free to submit your questions in the chat box. We are going to be taking questions throughout. It should be pretty lively and relaxed. So any question is welcome. But today's real focus is e-comm and kind of digital evolutions. Please, Kali.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kali Stitt, and on behalf of Liberty Fairs, thank you guys so much for participating in this. I am the retail relations, so I am here to ensure that retailers and brands have an optimal experience at the Liberty Show, whether it's online or in person. And speaking of online, I also just want to plug really quickly our virtual trade show that'll be taking place on August 3rd with Jure. If you need more information, you can find that on the website. You can feel free to email me, but we really want to ensure that you guys have a great experience, even though we're trying to make the best in this COVID situation. So to follow up with that, thank you guys so much for being here. And we just want to know, we kind of touched on how your customer has evolved. So what are the opportunities that you guys are kind of following and chasing now that you know more information about your customer and the touch points for how they're buying within this season right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of in a non-business sense, to keep it a little bit less business, to Eric's point, it's been very interesting to get to know the customer. And I think their relationship with everyone, like opportunities have been to kind of engage with customers in a non-commercial way, right? So you see Instagram Live is really taken off for a lot of people, and a lot of people have done how-tos and educationals, and we've seen really good reaction from that and a lot of customer engagement. And that is a way to even just understanding their questions in that moment, see what they're asking about and what they're curious about. One, how can you provide value from like just the conversation you're having with customer, and then two, from a product perspective. But same things that a lot of that maybe felt smaller in the business have become more important. And maybe have built a lot of this around, because customers, like our workhorse categories, we're really trying to talk about what are some cool places that are like great add-ons for the customer that, especially when they're not running the store now, they might want to buy from us in addition to what they came to buy traditionally.
That's awesome. Eric, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like getting to know our customers better, I mean, something we've been doing is I'm finding myself chasing sweatpants right now for ATS. I'm finding myself looking for other grooming accessory brands, which, you know, has always been a category for us, but it's not a big category for us. You know, we're more of an apparel company. So it's definitely, it has shifted that. We recently brought Birkenstock in, and we've been blowing through Birkenstocks. Crocs is another one, you know, that's been doing really well. And we're looking at these items, and I'm seeing when they buy 3 pairs of Crocs and a pair of sweatpants and a candle, I'm like, this person's working from home right now, you know? So it's interesting, you know, and on the other side, you know, I gotta say, like, certain like shoe cleaning brands are not doing as well as they were. And the mindset that I'm having with that is, well, you're home. So like people aren't trying to clean their shoes right now, and they're not, you know, to go out because nobody's going out. So I'm also seeing as I'm seeing a category grow, I'm also seeing another category kind of slump down. And it will be interesting to see what happens when everything gets back to some sort of normalcy, to see if those categories kind of switch positions again. But I guess time will tell, you know. Another thing too that I will say that's been interesting is masks, because we're selling masks. You know, we have price point masks to ones that are more that are pricier. And some work and some don't, you know. So that's been interesting. One challenge I'll say as a buyer is that there are several brands that are pre-booking masks right now for the future, for Christmas, for holiday. And I don't know if I should be ordering, you know, a ton of these or not, you know, because of course, you know, the last thing you want to do is overbuy and get stuck with a bunch of products. But we're in this position where none of us know where this is going right now with COVID, you know, and we don't know how, is this mask thing going to be around for the next 3 years, or is it going to be around for the next three months? You know, like we don't know. It's such the unknown for us here.
What's your
so that's
on masks,
an interesting
Eric?
thing.
Like, what are you noticing? I think what's so interesting is like California announced, like, you know, Gavin Newsom was like, okay, everybody's got to wear a mask, and masks became this big mandatory thing, which has been great. As far as like how you're noticing, you know, and this is just out of curiosity, but kind of as politics or news changes, right, in terms of like needing a mask, not needing a mask, how are you noticing it or thinking about the sell-through of a commodity item like this that is like, gosh, so hard to predict, as you said, right? It's not as if like we know at the very least that people will need masks until there's a vaccine, right? So there's like, and when that happens, we have no idea. So how are you looking, or how are you perceiving kind of the shift in maybe how popular or how masks are being spoken about, and then kind of how that correlates back to your sales?
Yeah, I mean, with the masks, I see a steady stream of sales with it right now, you know, knock on wood. I am noticing that people that are buying masks tend to buy more than one at a time. So I am seeing, you know, people they're buying 3 at a time or whatever it is. I also do see a difference in masks that actually have more functionality to them in sales versus masks that are just branded that don't have much functionality to them, if that makes sense. You know, I'll say we have, let's see, Brixton, we have masks from them that are doing well right now. They're disinfectant. We have a brand called Nice Face, which is the same thing, you know, and they're doing well, and it's another disinfectant type, you know, but we are still selling the branded ones, don't get me wrong. I just don't know. I'm trying to figure out what matters more to people at this point between the branding or the actual functionality. That's what I'm trying to guess at right now. At this point, they're both selling well, but I do feel like the functionality ones are starting to kind of curve up a little bit. But I also know this, you know, just in my experience, I've been buying for 15 years, 16 years, and I know it's just a matter of time before we all start competing with the local liquor store and the gas station and every other shop that's going to start selling them for $5 a pop, you know? So, and that's what makes me tread lightly. I've been in this too long, and I've seen too many trends come and go where I'm like, all right, I'm going to bet, you know, and then it comes back and bites me in the ass, you know, because I bought way too many and now they're available everywhere.
But isn't that just the curse of being a buyer? I mean, look, I remember when I too used to be a buyer. So, you know, when it comes to the lifelong curse of, did I buy too many? Do I have to mark it down? How am I going to mark it down? What's the POS? Like, you know, I think that there's such an interesting component here as we kind of think about, you know, the mask as a great example, but also looking at it and through the lens of potentially a new retail calendar, or through the lens of, you know, less markdowns or shorter markdown cycles, you know, how we look at buying. Kali, you mentioned, you know, and Eric, ATS, right? Like, how are we kind of thinking about these more immediates? Are you guys seeing anything categorically from any of your brands in terms of a shift towards more availability of product, more ATS, you know, being able to produce on shorter lead times? What's the latest that you guys are hearing on the ground from your vendors?
I think it's a mix. I think this is a great time to advantage for smaller brands that have like shorter lead times, because I think a lot of them were kind of working on the traditional fashion calendar to make everyone else happy. But now a lot of retailers are playing their open to buy a little bit closer to the vest. And so I'm seeing some of those guys, which is great for me, say like, hey, we can wait another month or 2 months or whatever, and we can still hit your fall or your holiday delivery, which is amazing. And then I think people who are a little bit more traditional in their production timelines have some stock available, but for different reasons, maybe a little bit less suboptimally. And I think what people you're seeing more and more people talk about rearranging their production calendar. So do we skip a delivery and let the year kind of even things out? Or are there things that are key parts of what we usually do that we can run a little bit closer? So I think for small brands that are a little bit more nimble, it's making people work in a way that's probably better for them. And for brands that are a little bit larger, it's making them reassess some of the ways that they've been working that maybe hadn't made sense for a while, but because we were all kind of marching in this direction, they just kept marching that way anyway.
Yeah. You know, as far as ATS is concerned, ATS in my experience was plentiful 2 months ago. And it's definitely, a lot of brands are out of product right now because a lot of stores have reopened. And from what I'm hearing, just within the industry, retail is kind of, they're seeing an uptick right now with sales everywhere. So I am noticing that ATS is not as plentiful as it was. But, you know, back in April when a lot of this happened, we were definitely looking at ATS buys, you know, because we're a web store, we were still open, so we were still doing business as usual. So I did, you know, there was the silver lining in that with us, where we now had access to go in and buy, you know, bigger quantities if we wanted to on certain brands, you know, if certain things were doing well. So, and I do agree the smaller brands have been more nimble with this, and we definitely appreciate that, you know. Almost every brand has allowed us, if we want, to kind of make edits to our future free books or something, and that's actually that's like a nice luxury that we've never really had in the past. So, you know, sometimes you bank on certain things to keep doing well over time, and you're like, oh, the season was kind of slow. Let me bring down that quantity coming back in the future, you know. So that was definitely nice. But yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I think it's like a, you know, as we're looking at this, the windows, I mean, for me, when, you know, what's so cool about the perspective I get to look at things from is really, you know, there's what you guys need as the buyers, and then there's what's happening on the vendor side. And then obviously there's, you know, the person who actually has to make the goods, right? So the key component that's missing here, it's like, all right, where's the manufacturing advocate who's like, all right, guys, like, how am I going to actually make these goods? And then with this, you know, kind of generational shift towards products that are more sustainable, with, you know, ethically made, or, you know, focus on domestic production, you know, this becomes challenging, right? How do we produce goods that are faster, on shorter lead times, be more agile and nimble, while still maintaining ethics and values and things like that? So kind of four different voices that kind of have to come together to be able to kind of address some of these issues. One thing you mentioned, Eric, that was so interesting is, you know, being an online shop and really kind of having a strong digital footprint has certainly been very important to the business, right? It's like, it's how things are shaking and moving. During the time of COVID, as things started to hit and people were staying home, do you think that you saw, you know, a dip in sales? Or I'm sure you did, but was it as dramatic as maybe the market had been experiencing it for your own personal business? Where you feel like you were hedged properly because of the way you had set up your business? And what were some of the ways in which you guys were able to maybe take advantage of this opportunity while everyone else could not do business?
I mean, we saw a slight dip first week of April, but I'd say since mid-April, it just, you know, we started to see business pick up. May was a great month, and June's been fantastic as well. So, you know, but during that slow period, I mean, it may have been a week to 2 weeks that we saw a bit of a dip early April. For us, my mentality is there's always something to do here at our company, you know. So even if our guys in the back aren't busy picking orders as much as maybe they were the week prior, I'm like, hey, we have inventory. Hey, we have, like, there's so much I'm the guy who's like, there's always something to do. Don't ever tell me there's nothing to do around here, because I'll find something, you know. So there is that, you know. And then another thing that we've done here as well, which, you know, I think is valuable, and it's something I wanted to kind of bring up on this call with like physical stores, is we, like, another side of what we do is fulfillment. So we have the infrastructure of warehousing, picking, packing, shipping. That whole pick, pack, ship is very intimidating, is what I've learned, to a lot of other businesses and people who may not quite understand how to do it. So we recently, like, for example, we're doing the fulfillment right now for Mike Tyson for all his direct-to-consumer sales. We worked with the golf brand, Tyler, the Creator. We worked with them for 7 years. We worked with Kimoji for Kim Kardashian's accessory line, etc. So for physical stores, something we've done, and my advice is, man, if you get that system down, you get that infrastructure of shipping, you have a store that's, in the Midwest maybe, go around to your local community and go visit your local shops and say, hey, can we help you guys out with shipping? Do you have merch? Can we take this over for you and help you guys? We have the system down. And you'll be surprised how many businesses are going to be interested in that type of a service. So in my opinion, like during that time as well, I contacted other companies to try to bring some more business in. So for us, it's about the infrastructure of what we do here. I mean, yes, we have an online shop, but we have the infrastructure that so many other people can use as well to help better their business, especially at this time, because there's so many businesses that are thinking, how else can we monetize ourselves? And a lot of people's answers are, oh, let's start making merch. Let's do t-shirts, let's do printing, let's make dad hats, tchotchkes, whatever it is. So I think this is a time where physical stores can also reach out to the community and really start to work together more so.
It's a really innovative and smart way to look at community building, resource sharing, developing partnerships. I think the one of the big things that kind of came out of these last 3 months was the notion of how you can be of service. What are the ways in which service and community come on the forefront? Jamal, I want to flip this question over to you in terms of, online business and kind of how you've been noticing the things that have maybe worked for you digitally. What were some of the big wins over the last few months? What were some of the ebbs and flows of sales, of categories? How are you also looking at future buying habits? So basically all the questions. So cherry pick which one you want to answer, but all the questions, go.
I mean, I think for us, where we've seen some changes at a high level, we still also had a strong business over the last few months, but where the customer was spending shifted pretty dramatically. And so we saw some headwinds in the apparel business, but our home and beauty and wellness categories picked up tremendously and have really kind of carried the site, or carried a lot more of the weight in the site than they had been in the past. And so that's been interesting to see kind of some of the things that we alluded to, like the customer buying a lot more for home and being a little bit more considered in what they purchase for their house. We're starting to see some of those trends rebalance, but I'm curious to see, even as we get the news of so many companies now staying to work from home, or letting customers or their employees kind of choose when they work from home, what the new normal looks like. And then within men's, like where I've seen some things that happen very interestingly, obviously more loungy, chill things have really taken off. What I actually was surprised about was how strong t-shirts and hoodies in those categories have been. And then it took me a while to realize that's because so many people are Zooming or Google Hangouts or whatever. And so they're looking for super comfortable things that they can wear and still look presentable for moments like this. And then
are you wearing
even things like swims. I've had
Jamal,
I'm not. I actually get dressed. I get dressed every day as a sense of normalcy. So I even put shoes by the door, even if I don't go anywhere, just so I feel like every day is not the same day. But we have like 60 employees and 30 of them are tech guys, and every tech person I know, I feel like they're in the same t-shirt, and they're always like, oh yeah, I'm just in the shorts I wore yesterday. So I talk to a lot of people in probably dirty clothes very often. So swim's been swim has been really strong for me. And I think in my background, I always thought of swim as a resort kind of option where people are buying swim when they go on vacation. But I think as we enter this new world of people needing to do things outside and need to stay local and still go outside, you're seeing people buy for their pool or buy for the river or buy for the beach. And so when we think about where we'll go next, what are the kind of things in this next 6 to 8 months or 6 to 12 months where the world exists as it is? What is the customer going to do outside of their house? Because, I think for the first 3 months, everyone was like, fine, I'll just stay inside forever. And now people are like, please, what can I get outside to do? And so what are the things that people are going to go outside to do that still makes sense in the world that we live in? And then, I think for us, this has proven more important diversity of business. Like we always wanted to have multi-categories and multi-classes within those categories. And so even at a larger sense, are there whole new extensions to the website that we can think about so we can really serve the customer for all the things that they come to buy for their life that are maybe not commodities?
Nice. Eric, I kind of want to flip back to you for a second. And we talked about fulfillment and the issues when you go to different retailers. And I want to know the biggest barrier to entry. Is it them understanding the technology? Is it them understanding the importance of it? Is it maybe the inventory levels? As you speak to different people, like what has been the biggest thing that's hurt them? Like, I don't think we can do this. And how have you helped them get over that hump?
I think it's the technology. I think it's the shipping part of it. I think it's what type of packaging am I supposed to buy? Am I really supposed to spend $8 to ship a t-shirt? Is this right? You know, I think it's lack of experience and technology with that whole infrastructure that's like set up. And you know, I think there are businesses too that also want to focus on the creativity and the marketing side of their business and not have to deal with the shipping side of their business, you know, so they can focus on the growth and not spend half their day focused on making sure they get to USPS before they close. That's just, it's a system that we have that's so well oiled here. So it's easy for us to throw a brand in the mix or a company or whoever it is, you know, and just handle that for them. I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by it. You know, I've had so many conversations. There's actually there's a hip hop group from the early 90s that I'm speaking with right now as well to do their merch. And I spoke to them last night and they're in the same situation, you know, where they're like,
can we go to
I'm
a
sorry?
concert? I listen to almost exclusively hip hop from the early 90s.
All right, well, we got to talk. But with them, it's the same situation where they're just like, yeah, we can do the shipping ourselves, but man, we want to focus on creating the product. We want to focus on seeding it to our celebrity friends. Like that's what we want to focus on. And if you guys could just handle all of that, that would just be such a weight off of our shoulders. You know, and we take a small portion of what they do when we, you know, as far as our fees concerned. So for them, it makes perfect sense. In my opinion, I used to own a physical store here in Burbank called Backside for 11 years. And when I owned this, we were a very much community driven store. And when I had my shop, I developed partnerships with everybody in our neighborhood. I mean, literally down from the Chipotle down the street to Active Ride Shop, who was 2 blocks away from us and you would say would be our competition. But, you know, before certain things happened with the economy at that point, we were about to do a giant block party with them. You know, so I'm definitely about community and cross promoting, you know, because at that time we did this big promotion with Chipotle, for example, and we had them blasting us out to all of their customers, and we did the same thing. You know, I ended up bringing in a radio show for the Soul Assassins radio show from Shade 45, and we hosted their show at our shop for 2.5 years. So even doing that, it was a cross promotion thing where we kind of feed off of each other. And I'll say too, here at MLTD, we filmed a web series called The Grinds a 1.5 years ago, where we interviewed Freddie Gibbs, DJ Quick, Jonathan Mannion, etc. You know, so it's just about cross promoting, you know, and getting the right people involved who have the same passion that you do as well, and they want to try to build a business.
What you said is really interesting, Eric, especially along the lines of being core to your brand values or your identity. You know, what I heard throughout what you said wasn't like, oh yeah, we needed to find a partner, so we went with some random person, or we, you know, did a lot of like far-reaching stuff. It all feels very thoughtful, very organic. It feels like it fits. And I feel like that is one of the challenges today for, you know, a lot of the brands and also, you know, store owners that are attending this webinar are wondering, right? How do I, if they don't have a digital presence, how do I build one? How do I start to think about growth in my company? And what I think is interesting here is this kind of return to the provenance of what your brand is and what your values are and what is in brand. Can you speak a little bit more to, you know, saying yes to collaborations and things that, you know, feel right, but then also saying no to things that don't feel right?
I completely will. My thought process on all of that, whether it's a brand that we may develop a partnership with here at MLTD to buy, or whether it's a company we would do fulfillment with, is I've always viewed it with a brand and with a retailer that it's a marriage. It's a 50-50 thing. We don't need this brand to stay in business, and the other way around, they don't need us to stay in business. But if we want to work together, we have to meet each other halfway, and we have to be on the same page about what our goals are. I am not the person to work with somebody just because of the dollar, or my shirt even says follow your heart. And that's kind of my, that's my ethos. That's what I believe in. You know, so I just want to work with good people where we have the same common goal. And the reason I compare it to like maybe a relationship is like every season, and because I've been buying for so long, every brand will have a bad season once every 4 seasons, in my opinion. They're going to have a season on average that maybe didn't sell as well. But that's where that relationship comes into tact, that we're still going to have your back. And you know what? 3 seasons later, we may have a bad sell-through on something else, and I'm hoping you're going to have our back. And those are the people I want to work with, where we can get through the COVID-19 together, and we can get through a recession or whatever it is. Trends are changing, whatever it is. Like, I only want to work with people that want to work with us, you know, equally.
I think you just need to have purpose. Like if your only reason for being is to make money in moments like this, it's really easy to fall. But when you have a vision for why you're working with the people you work with or why you exist at all as a brand, then it helps you like double down on that vision and then find creative ways to make your partners happy, to make yourself happy, and then ultimately to serve the customers in the way you intended.
Mm-hmm. You know, what's interesting, to kind of piggyback off of that, we have a question that came in from our YouTube audience, and this is from Glenda. She has an online jewelry boutique. How should she determine what to buy? Should she continue with what her store has been selling, or should she pivot? And what I think is interesting, how I'd like to kind of approach you guys with this question is, you know, things are crazy right now, right? It's like, is it masks? Is it this? Like, how do you stay true to your existing online audience and what you're currently selling? Do you, expand and take more risk? Is there calculated risk that you guys have been kind of dipping your toes into? Or is it really staying the course and being kind of tried and true until we kind of see things come out the other side? Jamal?
Yeah, I think maybe I'm in the retail minority here, but I think it's a little bit foolhardy to think we're going to go back to normal and it's going to be exactly how it was. And I challenge even my partners when I talk to them, and they keep saying everything like the base for almost shifted. So I think if you're talking about staying to your customer, you have to stay true to their evolution. And so you're going to have to realize that there are going to be some, I don't believe, walk away from what your core styles are, your core brands are. But to think that your customer is going to interact with everything by and large the same, even after Corona is over, we've moved past it, I think is a little bit foolhardy. And so I think you have to take calculated risk. I think we are, as far as what we're buying from brands, where we're expecting brands to check, and then where we go next. And I think your customers are going to do the same. Like, I don't think even if we got a vaccine today, everyone will go back to doing exactly everything the way they did. And I think it's easy to think that way because we all know that playbook. But I think the reality is whoever is smart enough to realize will probably be a new playbook in the future will have a lot of success or really gain a lot of love from the customer.
To kind of follow up on that, I have a question. How do your team test different categories, different products online, and kind of see what your customer really likes or kind of doesn't like? You guys do consignment or maybe drop ship? Like, what different things do you do to kind of see what the customer will like and not like?
Yeah, I mean, I think online there's one good advantage is you have a lot of data. Like every touch point you get from a customer is kind of data driven. So one thing we use a ton of is to search. What are people searching for and not finding results for, or finding limited results? But to your point, Kali, I think for us, that's one of the things that's really changed because of Corona is trying to meet brands where they are. So I think, the traditional wholesale model isn't great for everyone. So yeah, to your point, we've done dropship in a way that we never really were doing before. Consignment's become a bigger part of the conversation. And it's part of it is so you can test, yeah, truly. And part of it is to understand. And then sometimes things look really interesting to you as a buyer and you haven't considered it. So your customer probably hasn't considered it, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't want it if they showed it. So it's a great way to say like, hey, that's a great idea that I've never heard of. Let's try that. And so we use, all the above.
Yeah, consignment's been in our language as well with buying, and it's been successful for us thus far. And as far as like what we're predicting for future, we are taking very calculated risks. My goal is I don't want to overbuy. This isn't the time to accidentally overbuy. I would rather buy a bit more conservatively and sell out and create that FOMO for the customer of like, damn, I didn't get to buy it. In my opinion, that's a win-win for everybody, for the brand, for us as a retailer, and then I'll chase ATS at that point, but my goal is to get it in and have it sell out, so we are taking calculated risk more so for future, especially with masks. Because they're being offered all day long right now, and I'm sure you're getting it too, Jamal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't jump on everybody's and say, yeah, all right, we're in.
I think masks are tough, and they're going to be super tough to predict. But I agree that like things that have some real utility, I think those are going to have longer legs. And then I think on the other side, if it's novel in an interesting way. Like I think just putting your logo on there. I mean, some brands have amazing logos, so let me not disparage everyone, but that's probably not enough to consider it. But if you see things that are cheeky or topical, you can probably get away from it. But I think it just exists because they could make it. It's going to get difficult. As you said, you can buy it everywhere in every store from every brand. The customer is probably going to have seen a lot of that.
Interesting. So as far as like, the different ways of maybe thinking about buying or kind of testing products, which I think is great. One thing that I feel that we hear often in the digital landscape is, authenticity. Or, how do you kind of come off as like this, authentic brand? And I got to tell you, like the words that I feel are like overused and now starting to like mean nothing. It's like, what, like, what does that mean? Like, how does a brand go about being authentic? And what I think has been so, interesting is obviously part of that message is consistency. So sometimes when it's like authentic, what we mean is, say what you are, mean what you say, and be consistent about showing up and doing that over and over and over again. As you guys are looking at kind of your businesses and your digital footprint and kind of what keeps your customers loyal, right? What keeps them coming back, how you guys have built this brand. Without using the word authentic, if you can, what are some of the ways in which you guys feel you've been able to build customer loyalty and be able to create those relationships in a digital landscape?
I think for us, we've been focusing on customer service a lot. I mean, we always did before, of course, but we have seen an influx of new customers, and our customer service, department, that is our face to our consumer. We're a web store. You can't walk into our physical store. So that is how we communicate with people. So we've really focused on customer service and kind of upping our game in that department, and with social media as well, as commenting back and forth and like having interaction with actual customers on our social media, as opposed to just, I don't want to look like just an ad going by all day long. I want to actually communicate with our fans and our customers and like build that relationship and have them feel like they know us, because they do know us. Because it's Marissa talking to them, or Jeremy, or Ken, or whoever it is, in here. And we have good people that work here, so they're treating them well. But customer service has been something we've definitely been focusing on in the last few months. We've seen it increase as our business has increased.
Interesting. I like that. I feel like, Jamal, when you're talking about how retail is going to evolve in the future, I feel like customer service is an area, guys, we're not going to be able to go back from. I mean, everyone really went heavy into like deep customer service. It's like curbside pickups, all these delivery options, getting on the phone, personal shopping. I mean, really, if consumers were wondering if we would ever get back to a 1950s era type of like handheld clienteling, I would say we did a really good job of doing that. However, right, things are going to open up again. There's going to be a certain level of service expectations, right, that we've kind of established with the customers. How are you guys thinking about these service expectations? What should we be anticipating is going to be carrying forward that we're all going to have to adapt to?
I mean, I think Eric hit the nail on the head with the hammer, with the sense that like for online retail is like the nuts and bolts you have to be better at. So you have to be able to, the customer has to be able to call you, he has to be able to email you or, chat you or whatever, and have succinct answers that come back very quickly. And then I think for us, like in the digital space, the sky's the limit. Like the customer, I think there's a lot of opportunity to wow. I think in the brick and mortar space, it's like you mentioned, like the best we'll probably get back to is what existed a generation ago. But for where we are, it's kind of a whole new frontier. So what else can you do? Can you layer on top of that? Can you give people their own customer service representative? If you're a key client, can you give people access to buyers directly, or can you remove points of friction? Can you help people understand for them what are the brands that we think will work well because of how they fit or because of some of the brands that you've bought? And so part of that I think is technology. Can you use algorithms to leverage that and be showing the customer more relevant content? And then part of that is, can you use your human capital better to really address the questions that customers have and meet them where they are? And I think, we're all trying to do that, but I think it's exciting because there's a lot more opportunity to better serve the customer online.
Yeah,
And I think it's so crucial. I'm sorry. I think it's so crucial right now too, because we're gaining new customers right now, straight up. So this is kind of we have to put our best foot forward, in dealing with everybody. So that's why I think right now it's even more critical than ever.
Lucky you, right? It's like you're like, we're getting a whole new market segment. Meanwhile, I think go ahead, Kali.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, I kind of want to touch on the customer experience online and how they travel through your online site. What have been some things that on each, like a master or a member page, that kind of just helps, whether it's like 5 pictures in a video or maybe something in the copy to help them understand size charts? Like, what have been some quick wins that work for your products? And what have been some things like maybe you just tried one picture in a video and you realize that the customer doesn't react well to that? What have been some wins and losses when it comes to the online experience for pages?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we've seen definitely when it comes to images, more is better. Like the customer, that's what you lose, right? In the online experience, like how does it fit? If I move this way, how is it going to move? So we definitely see better customer engagement the more photos you have. I think having relevant copy is super important, and it's one of those things that the customer never cares about unless they have a question. But in that moment, it really can be the make or break between convincing a customer it's the right item for them, or them having to reach out to CS, or them having to say, let me hop out and go to Google and see if someone else has the shirt that has the specs that I'm looking for. So I think in general, the right kind of more is better, more is more. Then there's always a balance between like cluttering the page and it becoming distracting, which is more of I think a UX question. But images, videos, all that, the more you have, the more it helps, because the customer's only going to see that if they're interested. If they're not interested anyway, they're only going to see the one picture and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I think with us, like on social media, for example, we've been focusing more on lifestyle imagery, and that's because you can actually see what the product fits like on the person wearing it, as opposed to seeing a flat lay or just a cool shot of a hat leaned up against a brick wall. Like I would rather have somebody wearing the product, whether they're hanging out with a friend or they're skating or whatever it is they're doing, so you can actually see the flow of the shirt. And as a customer, you're going to be like, oh, I like the way that shirt fits. Because sometimes when you just see the shirt laid out like this, it's hard to tell, how it's going to fit on you, because, everybody's shaped differently. So for us, lifestyle imagery has definitely been a focus on like social media for us.
Awesome. Well, I want to open up to the audience. I know we're coming up on an hour of, talking all things digital and how we're evolving our businesses. But we have a really lovely number of audience members here. And if anyone has any questions directly to either Jamal or Eric, please chime in, or to either Kali or myself. Otherwise, we will continue chatting about things in e-comm, unless you guys want to be chatting with us. So I guess as we're kind of thinking about, we kind of touched on some components of what makes a website, let's say, conversion friendly, so being able to really kind of work on better kinds of ways of doing products or photography. Obviously, as we're kind of thinking about things evolving, I imagine that social distancing photo shoots might be challenging. Have you guys been experiencing any new content creation hiccups as you're trying to figure out how do we take a lifestyle image when we used to have a stylist, a model, hair, makeup, the photographer, the PA? Like, what does the photo shoot look like in a COVID landscape?
I mean, for us, there's certainly been a lot of trying and experimenting, and because you do have to get creative and see, what can you shoot in a bedroom or a garage, or can you pin up? And then we've gotten to a good place, I think, with being clever with models, but for people who I guess are on the outside of the industry, it proves more and more the value in being a person who can wear many hats. And so we've really had a lot of success with people who can fit into the clothes well and represent them well, but also kind of a location scout for themselves and either know someone or can set up a camera to shoot for themselves. And so we've really gotten a little bit guerrilla with what we've done. And which has been scary sometimes as a buyer, because you know how much when you're an online store, images can make or break it. But then it's exciting because, again, as we evolve out of this, then I think it opens up a lot of possibility to do some really cool, interesting things and maybe more efficient ways than we've done them in the past.
Yeah, we were, you know, back in March, we didn't have any new releases going out for, you know, a couple of 2-3 weeks or something, you know, and we did get it going again in April, where we started doing photo shoots. Our, you know, just in our situation, our photo room has 2 entrances. So we kind of have it mapped out where the photographer will enter this way and the model will enter this way. And by default, they're far apart from each other, you know, so we have it all pre-set up already for that. So we've been able to kind of navigate through it at this point, you know, so far.
Might you guys also be doing photo shoots for other businesses, since you have a COVID-friendly photo studio?
It's a part of our services. So yeah, we've done it for a lot of brands over the years. Yep, exactly.
I love that. That's so funny. We have a really interesting question that popped in through our inbox, and I'm going to read it to you guys. It's a bit of I'm trying to piece it together how to frame this question. So let me read it off to you, and then we can figure out the best way that collectively 4 of the best minds here at 1:51 Eastern Standard Time can answer this question. Okay, with data showing physical retail, this is a macro question. Okay, with data showing physical retail disrupted when the social influencer was born. Okay, so physical retail totally shifted when influencers came on the scene. And with this data showing the slow demise of big retail, why have a number of retailers shifted online sooner? Maybe the question is, why haven't a number of retailers shifted online sooner? So the way that and you guys tell me if you're hearing the same question out of this, but what I'm hearing is, you know, if everyone already knew that these influencers were taking market share away from big retail, why didn't these retailers go online sooner? Why did they wait? And why are they now suffering the causality of that today? Because I think it's a right kind of way of looking at it, that look, when you think about the big companies that are suffering right now, or the companies that are suffering, it's big business in many ways. The problem I have with that is companies like Macy's just took out, I think, like a $4 billion debt refinancing to get themselves out of this, and small businesses don't have the same leisure. But what do you guys think in terms of how, I mean, as a small retailer, looking at your evolution online, what are some of the barriers to entry or reasons why you think bigger retailers didn't really make the plunge?
I think, to use the taboo word, authenticity, I think a lot of bigger, maybe more premium retailers thought they couldn't connect with their core customer in a way that felt like a premium experience. And, I mean, look at a lot of luxury players, right? We're really resistant for a really long time with the idea of going online because they felt like it was a non-glamorous way to go. I think that probably is the most strategic way. I think the other reality is, for a lot of people, it was expensive. And if they could figure out how to just maintain their store businesses in a way that made sense, it was, in the short run, at least a more sound decision, or at least a cheaper decision. So I think a lot of people knew eventually they had to go to digital, but they didn't really have the appetite to do it in a way that resonated with the person who was shopping online. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I could, just from my personal experience when I had my brick and mortar store, you know, we had spoken for years about, we should get a website. We need to get the website going. We need to get the website going. And for us, the thing that was most intimidating for us to do it was, it's just the fact that your inventory is constantly evolving, you know? So you're like, damn, I just spent 18 hours with all of us closing down the store to put stuff up, but stuff is still selling. And how do we update the inventory? We sold 3 mediums, but they're still on the website. I think that whole process is a bit intimidating. From what I understand, you know, companies like Shopify have made it easier for stores to do that, you know, and back then that wasn't available to us. Otherwise we would have hopped on that. But I think, I mean, that's what I can only assume, you know, as to why people didn't jump on it as quickly initially.
I mean, so back in, you know, I feel like we're all kind of retail veterans to a degree. Back in 2008, I was one of the first few people in the e-commerce division at Barney's. And it was really, it was really crazy in a couple ways. The first is at that time, and for many years after, when the website launched, we actually pulled inventory, right? Not from a DC that had allocated inventory to e-com, but we were pulling inventory from the Madison Avenue flagship location. So there were like, you know, it was kind of like this weird test, right? How do we even know if it's going to work? Well, let's pull inventory from our physical store, right? Which is problematic when you only have 3 units of a Balenciaga bag on hand, right? It's like, and like everybody,
Right.
like, how do you inventory manage on high-end luxury goods when it's so unpredictable like that? But the second thing that I thought was so interesting was at that time also, I remember we would have conversations with, you know, Prada, and, you know, they'd be telling us that they were so afraid of selling online. They did not want us to sell their products online. And the reason that they gave us was, we don't know how you're going to merchandise it or what products we're going to sit next to. And there was this whole concern about how a brand was represented online. And now it feels like so much of that has gone out the window. I mean, that Prada handbag will sit next to, that $5,000 handbag will now sit next to a $19 pair of sunglasses. And as long as that product is moving, it feels like no one cares. And so I feel like there's also just been this kind of interesting, relaxed, at least from this luxury sector, this relaxed point of view over time, of how much control do we actually have, or can we have, if we want to do volume and if we want to compete. And gosh, companies like Chanel have really taken a big toll during this time because they don't really transact online, right? And I think that that's going to be a whole other conversation as we look to maybe a next wave of digital footprints for luxury companies.
Yeah, and I love how we talk about like the difference in inventory levels and things like that, because I think the technical thing about retail and inventory is having like omni-channel and having a single view of inventory, and how if you have that view, it's easier to maybe, like, if I'm trying to buy something in New York and there's a warehouse and or a store in New York, is it going to come to me from that warehouse and store, and it's just going to come out of there, and it's easy to just understand like on a day-to-day like how your inventory is moving. And I feel like I worked with a lot of companies that kind of struggled with that in retail, and the technology kind of freaked them out, and the planning process, understanding how the customer base moves and buys, is kind of a hard thing for retailers to understand. But once they understand that, they're able to buy better, and they're able to allocate better, and they're able to target that customer better. So I agree with you guys all with that.
Awesome. I have one like secret sauce question, so you guys can choose to answer or not answer. I have a secret sauce question. CRM systems. This is like not a sexy question, so like most people need to know the answer to this, but few people will like know how important it is for them. When it comes to CRMs and it comes to you know, how you're organizing information, right, and kind of deploying information, secret sauce, choose or not choose, but do you have a preference on CRM platforms, and is there a way in which you've been looking at CRM in a way that you think has really impacted your business?
I'll let you go first, Eric.
I don't have much of an answer though, to be honest. You know, our whole back end, our website's all custom built. So we don't have a preference of a platform. It's kind of what we built internally. So that's our answer.
Sneaky. You got it. Sneaky. Jamal, any thoughts here on CRM?
Yeah, I won't say I have a preference, but I think that, I mean, it's supremely important. I think it's smart that you ask about it. If you're going to be in the digital space, I think it's really important that you choose to use CRM in a way that's really core to your business, because that's the advantage, right? Like if you're going to sacrifice some of the touch points and the emotional intimacy that you have in the physical world, you should try to you need to leverage understanding your customer through data as a way to kind of fill in some of those. That's my non-answer answer.
Okay, fine. You both got away with it. That's fine. Kali, any secret sauce questions you want to ask before we sign off?
What was the biggest win and the biggest loss that you guys have learned throughout the past 10 weeks of understanding your customer base and targeting them? What has been the biggest win and biggest loss that you guys can share?
I mean, for us, I'll say a win is the brand champion had been on a downtrend for us for, I'd say, the last year or so. And when COVID started and everybody was home, sweatpants, crew necks, and hoodies, there was a big resurgence for us with Champion in general, and we were all like amazed. You know, it came back, and we were blowing through hoodies and crew necks in April. So that was a win.
That's amazing. You know, I have to tell you guys, this is I bought 3 like matching sweatsuits over the course of COVID. Like what I am not like matching. So like I have like a really good geriatric powder blue jumper. So it's like, like I have one of those. I got like, and they're all men's. This is the other interesting thing. Really hard to find women's coordinating sweatsuit outfits, you know? So I ended up buying like Mac Weldon. I got like another jumpsuit outfit. I ended up getting like another Uniqlo jumpsuit outfit. So look, upshift in men's, you know, leisure wear. Like women are participating in this men's market. You know, it's your extra smalls and mediums and larges are not just going to men.
I've actually noticed that as well. We've been blowing through a lot of small sizes, and it's women that are buying them, I'm saying.
Yep. Jamal, any wins for you that you want to share? Any losses?
Yeah, I touched on it a bit, but swim has been amazing for me. I'm glad I held the line with what I was doing with swim partners, and I'm excited as things really start to heat up, as people are opening their phases, or you know, as we get into the next phases of getting back to going outside, because I think, you know, the season is ripe for some more swim selling. A place that we saw the customer maybe shift away from was denim. I think people don't generally lounge around the house in jeans, and so that business is starting to see a little bit of a pickup. But it was a horse for me coming out of the holiday season, and it has softened up. And then I'll say, like, in the non-commerce side, we talked about it a bit, but we've really launched and ramped up our dropship program. So, you know, any brands who are interested in working with us in dropship, I'd ask you to reach out. But that's been great because it allows us to be more nimble and give an opportunity to more partners than maybe traditional working buying model.
Awesome. Perfect. Kali, guys, any final parting words or thoughts or comments on the digital footprint?
No final words. Any final words for you guys?
Fairshop.com.
I love it.
Yes. I want to remind all of our retail
mltd.com.
partners. I want to remind all of our retail partners that are online that we have our Liberty show on August 3rd with Jewel, and our Cabana show for the women's resort wear brands are on July 20th with Jewel. And so we would really love for you guys to register online at the Liberty or Cabana site. Have any questions, feel free to email myself.
Amazing. All right, guys, I am Syama signing off. Thank you very much, Eric, Jamal, and Kali. What an awesome, lively, fun conversation. Webinars are not always fun. So, you know, I think smiling, laughter, talking about business in a way that helps us all feel optimistic is always the goal here as we get together. As we all stand for a community, as we are all supporting each other, I think we are blessed to be in this crazy landscape of retail where, gosh darn it, I don't know why we do it, but we always live to fight another day. And for some reason, when you're in the industry, it's hard to leave. So guys, we are all in this together as we emerge out of COVID into the future and into these new nimble and agile e-comm and brick and mortar spaces. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, attendees. We will be sending out a replay, so that'll be great to be able to share with everyone else. And we'll have another webinar scheduled sometime in the next few weeks. All right, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, bye.